Hello, everyone. I'm Hugh, and this is Jay.
What's up, y'all?
And this is the Blind Judgment Podcast. So if you're new here, I recount bizarre true crime cases to my co-host, who goes in completely blind. We also start off each episode with a series of photos that are somehow related to the case. And Jay here will use those clues to try to piece together a story on what this case could be about.
And don't forget about our link in the show notes if you want to see these photos for yourself. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and describe them first. So in the first photo, we have a bunch of credit cards. So somebody's holding out a bunch of different kind of credit cards. It looks like there are a bunch of travel credit cards. Okay. The second photo, it looks like a coastline, very tropical, very relaxing. The third photo is, I don't even know what you call these, but like in the movies, you have like a witch and she has a crystal ball and she rubs it and she looks inside of it. I guess it's a crystal ball. That's the third picture. The fourth picture, some Louis Vuitton luggage. It's a luggage set. Maybe it's never mind. I was going to say it's a fake Louis Vuitton, but I don't know what the hell a Louis Vuitton looks like, so I don't know. It looks a little cheap. And the final photo is a bucket of white paint. So we definitely have some kind of traveling going on. We have the travel credit cards. We have a tropical destination. We have the luggage. So I'm going to say that maybe like a card reader, a palm reader type of character is involved here. Maybe they are set up in some kind of vacation destination. Okay, and some weary travelers stumbled upon her trap. And then the white bucket of paint maybe was the tool that was used to inflict, pain. I'm thinking that that's the tool of the crime, a bucket of paint.
All right. That's the murder weapon?
Yeah, that's the murder weapon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is my judgment.
That's a good judgment.
Thanks.
I think it's pretty good. Are you going to lock that in as your final answer?
Locking it in.
All right. Well, let's see how close you were. Let's dive right in. April 22nd, 2005, Orange County, California. Young Tran is trying to get a hold of his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Anita Vo. The couple had kind of like a rocky relationship, and they had gotten into an argument the day before. And when he hadn't heard from her, which was really out of the ordinary, he became a little bit suspicious. He's like, he must be pretty angry. So in an attempt to smooth things over, he decides to drop off some coffee and pastries at her home that she shares with her mother, Ha Jade Smith.
Okay.
So they live in an area of Orange County called Little Saigon. And Little Saigon has the largest population of Vietnamese people outside of Vietnam. So like signs on businesses are in English and in Vietnamese. There are even like street signs that are like that, etc. The Vietnamese culture is very, very prevalent in this area. Something that is very important in Vietnamese culture is the use of fortune tellers. It is imperative that anytime you make a big decision, you would go to like a fortune teller. And Ha Jade Smith is one of the most prolific fortune tellers, not only in the Little Saigon community, but also in the country.
Mm-hmm.
She has a very successful business that she runs out of her home. So young Tran drops off the coffee and the treats onto the doorstep And he goes about his day expecting Anita to give him a call or make some sort of contact with him. So the next day, he still hasn't heard from her. And he stops by the house and he notices that the coffee and pastries are still sitting on the doorstep, completely untouched. And their dog is in the backyard barking. And this is very suspicious because this dog is like Jade's baby. They love this dog. And so it's just odd that they would leave the dog in the backyard to just bark. So he contacts the police and has them do a welfare check on the two women. So that night, 2 patrol officers arrive at the house and knock on the door. No one answers. All of the lights are off, but there's this red glow coming from inside the house. They decide to peer in through one of the windows. It's also a full moon this night, so they're able to get a little bit more visibility due to the luminosity of the moon. And within the house, they can see what appears to be a stark white mannequin arm lying on the kitchen floor. Through some deliberation, they kick the door in to investigate further. They enter the home into the living room, where Jade's altar is adorned with figurines and statues of Asian deities. There's animal bones and a bunch of red lights, which is casting this red glow. In the dim lighting, the officers can see that the house has been completely ransacked, totally ripped apart. They enter the kitchen, and lying on the floor is the body of 52-year-old Ha Jade Smith. She has been brutally stabbed, and her body is positioned in like a prayer position. So her knees are folded like up under her chest, and her arms are stretched out forward. Additionally, she is completely coated in white paint. The officers continue to clear the house, and they come upon the body of 23-year-old Anita Vo. She is sprawled out in the hallway, dead from multiple stab wounds, and she is also covered in white paint. Yeah. So what do you think so far?
Did these bodies have clothes on them?
Yes, they're completely clothed.
But they're just covered in white paint.
They're just covered in white paint. White paint has been dumped all over them.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. So Ha Jade Smith, or Miss Jade, which is what she went by, she was originally from Vietnam. She came to America with her young daughter, Anita, where she got married, but that marriage ultimately ended in divorce. So seeking a way to support her and her daughter, she began her career as a fortune teller. And as I mentioned previously, fortune telling is a really big deal in the Vietnamese community. So you would go to a fortune teller before you went into business, where you would go into business, if you'd buy a house, if you're going to make a big investment, you would consult a fortune teller.
Got it.
Also, they can cast spells. So if you are seeking good fortune, good health, or like luck with love, they can cast these spells for you. So pretty quickly, Jade becomes renowned for her abilities, especially like with these spells, and her testimonials are glowing. She develops this pretty solid client base, and she's in such high demand. She's so popular that in many cases her clients will actually like fly her out to different cities all around just to perform these rituals. So super successful. And as a result, she is making a considerable amount of money.
Okay.
Super successful. And you can tell she is because she exudes this like elegance, this opulence.
And I'm sorry, what time or what year are we talking about here?
This is the year 2005.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about like the 80s or something. All right.
No, this is the mid-aughts, 2005.
Okay.
So yeah, so she's super elegant. She's always decked out in like designer clothes, beautiful, expensive jewelry. Her hair is always done, makeup done. She takes excellent care of herself. She has a lot of wonderful things going for her. But what she's the most proud of is her beautiful daughter, Anita. So not only is she physically attractive, but she's also super intelligent. Like she's actually studying to be a lawyer at the time of her death. She's super witty, very charming, and she has a great relationship with her mother. They are extremely close. So let's go back to April 23rd. So after the police officers clear the house, they exit the home and forensics arrive. Upon investigation, they learn that both women have suffered at least 10 stab wounds to their face, head, and neck. They also have numerous wounds on their hands, indicating that they fought back at their attackers. Like they fought hard.
Mm.
Then after they were killed, several quarts of white paint was dumped on their heads, arms, and hands. So not only is this a very unique crime scene with the altar and the paint, but when they go to take photos of the crime scene, there's this like smoke, this like haze that is just hanging in the air in the rooms around the house. And also when they go to take pictures outside.
Like a fog?
Yes, like kind of a smoky fog.
Okay.
And it's also a full moon. So
it's just extra spooky?
Extra spooky. And detectives start to wonder, was this a ritualistic killing? At first, this was a plausible theory. However, the home was ransacked, and after investigation, the homicide detectives learned that only a few years prior, Jade had actually been robbed in her home. So she was tied up and approximately $315,000 in cash and jewelry had been stolen.
Whoa.
Yeah. So outside of that instance, there were multiple other break-in attempts on her home and other homes within her neighborhood.
And this is all the same home that we're talking about in the crime scene?
Yes, that's correct. So now they think, okay, this could have been like a robbery gone wrong. Like maybe the people who robbed her previously, maybe they came back. However, they do some investigation. They find out that all of those guys who had done the previous crime, they had alibis or they were in jail. So that didn't quite add up.
Right.
So they investigate the crime scene a little more, and they start to formulate a theory that the crime was committed by a scorned client. So although the women had substantial defensive wounds on their hands, and it was clear that they put up a fight, there was no sign of forced entry. So whoever perpetrated this crime was let into the house. So they had to have been somebody that Jade and Anita knew, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you could also just walk in, right? Maybe the door's not locked, but I see what you're saying.
All right.
Oh, shut up.
No, I like it. Additionally, despite the fact that the home was totally ransacked, I mean, furniture is turned over, drawers are pulled out, not much of value was taken. She had, again, almost $300,000 in cash and in jewelry just stashed away in random places in her house. Like she had cash in like her coffee maker. She had cash in like the compartment of her vacuum cleaner.
What?
There was some
That's
in the
weird.
drywall. Well, okay.
It's like you're hiding money.
So
It's
here's the
suspicious.
thing. So they are Vietnamese. And keep in mind when the war started, when the Viet Cong took over, they're communists, right? So all of the money, everything that the Vietnamese people had in banks, the government seized.
Yeah.
So they don't trust banks
I see.
for that reason. So
And she's loaded, so she literally
and
has
she's
nowhere to
loaded.
put
So,
all
yeah,
this
so
money but her coffee machine.
Yeah, she's been burned before by putting her money in the bank. So that's why she's putting her money in the coffee maker and in the vacuum cleaner.
Like, this coffee tastes a bit like quarters. That's interesting. It's like, don't worry about it.
This coffee tastes like $100,000.
That was better. That was a better joke than mine, damn it. God, I suck.
So if you're going to rob someone, wouldn't you look like everywhere? Wouldn't you look through everything?
Yeah.
You know? So pretty much all that was taken was just her credit cards, some Louis Vuitton luggage, and some other like random items. Unfortunately, without any leads or any real suspects, the investigation reaches kind of a dead end. The only thing that investigators can do is to work with the credit card companies and wait and see if the killer uses one of Jade's cards. So about a week after the murders, one of the credit cards was used to make like some small purchases in the area. The killer's kind of like testing the water, seeing if these cards work. And over time, the amounts in these transactions, they start to increase. So they get the video surveillance from an electronics store where a transaction occurred. And in the video, there is a short, heavy-set Asian woman. She doesn't look like the type of person that would be a killer. She looks like an average, like everyday woman that you would see anywhere, right? So did she get the card from somebody? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
So a week after those transactions take place, the card is being used again in North Carolina. So they look at the surveillance, and again, it is the same woman. In addition to making purchases, the card is also being run on multiple test transactions to kind of make sure it's still working at an adult store. Finally, the credit card is used to purchase 5 plane tickets from North Carolina to Orange County, California, with a layover in Georgia. 2 of the 5 tickets are under the names Ha Jade Smith and Anita Vo. So now they have a date and time where these perpetrators will be. So the detectives go to Georgia, where the layover is, and they wait to see who's going to come off the plane. Who is the perpetrator? And they discover that the person who is traveling under the name Ha Jade Smith is a middle-aged woman named Tanya Nelson, and she is with her 4 young children.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to get into Tanya's backstory. Do you have anything that you want to add here?
So far I'm definitely thinking, yeah, she probably got this card on the black market, right? Quote unquote black market. And now she's balling out of control with it, taking her family for a little vacation, is what I'm thinking. Um, I'm kind of also, the image stuck in my head is the paint, right? The paint over the dead bodies.
It is spooky.
And I'm wondering, like, was that done to? Because I thought the same thing. Like, was this a ritual? But also, like, is that to maybe hide the smell? Like, I don't know how long they were there, or was it to like hide fingerprints or other evidence that might have been on the crime scene or in the crime scene? So that I think there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So curious to hopefully find out what that was about. But yeah, this is very, very interesting. So those are the big questions I have right now.
All right. Well, let's see if we find the answers to those questions. So, Tanya came from a large Vietnamese family. She had immigrated as a child, and her family had settled in the Orange County area. And that's where she lived for most of her life. So, her and her husband actually owned a successful sex toy store there. And Tanya never made a business decision or a personal decision without consulting Ha Jade Smith.
Okay, so they're super close.
They are super close. She is one of Jade's regular clients, and she has gone to her for many, 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 many years. They're
Okay.
very close.
Got it.
So she frequently consulted Jade on her romantic inquisitions. Okay. Now, Tanya was married. She was having an extramarital affair. Her and her husband had traveled back to Vietnam to visit with his family. And this is where she becomes acquainted with her husband's younger brother.
Oh, no, girl.
And yeah, so she catches feelings for him.
Oh.
So eventually, she convinces her husband to bring the brother over to the United States.
Okay, so nothing happened on the trip where she fell in love with him?
Nothing happens on the trip.
She just caught feelings.
She just caught feelings.
Okay.
And she's like, I gotta have this man or this young boy.
Oh, wait, how old was he?
He's like a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he comes over, he moves in with them and their children. And she develops this like weird relationship with him, this romantic relationship.
Okay, and what's the age difference here?
I mean, she's in her like mid-late 30s at this point, probably her late 30s, and he is like in his late teens.
All right.
Okay, so there's a considerable age gap.
Okay.
All right. So eventually, when the brother matures, he grows up and he's also getting acclimated with being in the United States because he's been here for a while. He realizes that he needs to get away from this woman and this relationship. This is crazy. This is his brother's wife, and he's in this romantic entanglement with her. He moves out and he gets a girlfriend. Tanya is pissed. She loses it. She has Jade perform some rituals, some spells for her. She has him perform them on the brother-in-law, his house, and his girlfriend. So this becomes too much for her brother-in-law, and he ends up moving out to North Carolina just to get away from her.
Wait, what kind of spells? Like, were they spells?
Love spells
Okay,
on
so
the brother-in-law. She was like,
they weren't like vengeful. Like, she didn't want anything bad to happen to them.
She wanted something bad to happen to their house. She wanted their house to burn down. She wanted the girlfriend to die. Like, she's
nutso.
Full wrath. So this becomes too much for her brother-in-law. And he ends up moving to North Carolina just to get away from her.
Okay.
But no one says no to Tanya Nelson. So she moves out there as well. She opens up another adult store in rural North Carolina. Like, how is that going to go over well?
Yeah.
Oh, and then here's the other thing. She moves there by herself. She leaves her kids and her husband back in California. So she convinces him like, oh, I'm doing this for business. Y'all can come visit me. But you and the kids, you just stay back in California while I do my thing in North Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
Super weird. All the while, she's flying Jade Smith across the country to use her services. Nothing is working. Okay, her brother-in-law he's not into her like that. And he now is going to be getting married to someone else. This enrages Tanya. It gets to a point where Tanya has her teenage son show up with her to the brother-in-law's house with a gun. And Tanya is yelling at him like, shoot him, shoot him. But her son won't do it because like, okay, this is his uncle.
Yeah, and he's not a murderer.
So she grabs the gun out of her son's hand and pistol whips the brother-in-law.
Oh my God, this woman is insane.
She's nuts. So after this happens, Jade is like, all right, this is getting out of hand. Like, I cannot help you anymore. Like, you're completely on your own.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because you don't say no to Tanya Nelson. So back to the investigation. The detectives spot Tanya Nelson and her children at the airport. They decide to hold off on making any arrests because at this point, all they really have is that she's committing fraud. That's the only thing that they have to connect her to. She's using a credit card
that doesn't belong
to her. That's really all they have. And they want to see if maybe will she return to the crime scene? They need something to get her on the murder.
Right. Or will they lead her, or will she lead them to the actual murder?
Exactly. And because they have a pretty good idea that she's involved with the murders somehow, obviously, but they don't have enough evidence. So they follow her to California, and she's going on like a total shopping spree with Jade's credit cards. She's buying things from Versace, Jean Paul Gaultier. Like, she is going all out. So the investigators are like, all right, we're not going to get anything else from this. And, we're wasting time. So let's just bring her in. Because they have evidence of fraud, she's arrested. She is totally calm, like stone-faced. And keep in mind, this woman is traveling with her young kids. And I feel like if that were you, like, wouldn't you be like, oh my goodness, like, what's happening? No reaction. Even when they start to question her about the murders, like showing her graphic photos of the body, all that, nothing. She's completely cold. So now they've got her on these fraud charges. They have a warrant to search her home. And upon doing so, they find handbags, luggage, jewelry, all kinds of things belonging to Jade. They also find a day planner. And it has the words, horrible sin, written on April 21st. They also find 2 plane tickets, like on paper, like a paper plane ticket.
Yep.
April 20th. One ticket was for Tanya, and the other was for a man named Philip Zamora. So Philip Zamora is the husband of Tanya Nelson's best friend back in North Carolina. Apparently, Tanya was like their financial advisor, and she handled a lot of like their finances. She had like quite the hold on these folks too. So the investigators go and they knock on Philip's door, and once they tell him like what they're there for, he immediately breaks down and he starts to talk, and he tells them everything.
Uh-oh.
What do you think?
I'm thinking that he was involved. Like maybe he did the dirty work.
Yeah. So he claims that Tanya approached him about killing Jade. And she told him that if he went with her to go carry out this murder, she would find some guys for him to hook up with while they were there.
Whoa, back up.
Yeah.
Say that again?
She's like, you come with me. I'm going to find some guys that you can sleep with, that you can have sexual relations with. Because apparently that's something that I guess he wanted to do. And she was like, I can make that happen for you. But that's how she got him.
That's how she bribed him to
That's how she bribed
commit
him
murder?
to commit these murders with
Okay,
her.
but he was married to her best friend,
Married
right?
to
You
her
said,
best friend.
okay, so he's kind of, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. I'm
So she's
following
like,
now.
all right, so under the table, if you do these murders, I'll find all these men for you to sleep with.
All right.
Okay. And he agrees enthusiastically, obviously, because that was all the motivation he needed to murder two people.
Right.
So they reach out to Jade. They go to her house on the morning of the 21st, and they are just kind of like visiting with her. I mean, she's known them for a long time. They're like longtime friends. So this wouldn't be that like out of the ordinary, you know?
Yeah.
So Anita comes home and she's chatting with them because Anita knows them as well. And so at some point, Tanya's like, "Hey, let's break out some champagne. Let's have some champagne." So they go into the kitchen where Tanya strikes Jade over the head with a champagne bottle. And she orders Zamora to grab a knife and start stabbing Jade. And she's screaming at him like, kill her, don't let her scream. He does as he's told. And while he's killing Jade, Tanya is the one who is killing Anita. And this is according to Philip Zamora. So once the women are killed, they proceed to clean up the crime scene. They wash up the knives that were used. They change their clothes. They clean up anything that they might have touched. But also the cleanup is pretty sloppy. So Tanya actually takes a shower in Jade's shower to like get the blood off of her body. And she leaves behind a bloody footprint on the bath mat.
Wow.
Which like totally had the investigators like scratching their heads. But this is how it happened. Like these people are not at all seasoned criminals. So to finalize their cleanup and to skew any DNA evidence that might have been on the bodies, they go to a Walmart and they pick up buckets of white paint. And they picked white because it was apparently the cheapest paint that they could buy and the easiest for them to access. So they grab the white paint and they dump it all over the women's bodies. So Tanya does try to take any cash, jewelry, any valuable items that Jade has, but she doesn't find anything. So they ransack the place, don't find much, but whatever they do find, they pack it up and they leave the house. On the way back to North Carolina, Tanya tells Zamora that Jade had to die because she gave her a fortune that never came true. So she deserved it. She wanted her new business to be successful. She wanted the affections from her brother-in-law. That just didn't happen. And she blamed Jade for it. So Philip Zamora and Tanya Nelson are arrested. Zamora is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 27 years to life in prison.
Wait, so they charged him for both of the bodies? Even
Yes.
though he said that Tanya did?
Yes, they charged him with both 2 counts.
Okay.
So he actually ends up testifying against Tanya at her trial. And now Tanya was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, robbery, conspiracy to commit murder, and lying in wait.
Okay.
She is found guilty and is sentenced to death. She is on the death row in California to this day. So, in conclusion, Tanya Nelson was a jealous, manipulative, controlling individual who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted at any cost. And now she has taken the lives of 2 innocent women, and she's disrupted the lives of her own children. This has had a massive impact on so many people.
Seriously.
Just so she could get everything she wanted.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you I feel like your judgment in the beginning was spot on. I feel like it was pretty good.
Wait, are you serious?
I feel like it was pretty good.
I said that the fortune teller was going to be the bad guy. That was wrong. I said the paint was going to be the murder weapon. I was wrong. I mean,
but I mean, you could draw some good conclusions from it.
Yeah. I still think I was pretty off, but I'm surprised that they didn't find any evidence in the house. It seems like they stayed there way longer than they should have after they committed the crime.
I mean, they tried their best to clean everything. They used bleach, all different kinds of disinfectants.
I was kind of thinking in the beginning that there had to be multiple people involved, because if you're stabbing one person, the other person would be screaming. And then if somebody's screaming, you wouldn't have enough time to like ransack the house.
Absolutely.
So I figured the murders had to have happened more or less at the same time. And then that gave them kind of the freedom to look about the house for whatever, jewelry, money. Didn't think it was going to be Tanya and some dude who wanted to live out a fantasy.
Yeah.
And so much that he was willing to kill somebody for it. Like that
Kill someone over a hookup.
And so what was his sentence?
He was sentenced to 27 to life. So he's eligible for parole after 27 years.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, she sucked in so many people's lives into this hurricane, and including his family.
Yeah.
Philip's family, right?
Philip's family. Like he was married, they had children. You know, and she had young children. I mean, like I can't even imagine like how the brother-in-law might feel. Like this is just such a crazy, toxic whirlwind. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Hey, really quick though, before we get off, I actually have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you find these cases?
Just kind of like wherever. I don't know how to really answer that question. I mean, I find them on
are you researching like crazy cases?
Yes, I go to Reddit. I listen to a lot of other podcasts. And
so we're just ripping off other podcasts?
We're not ripping off other podcasts.
Great.
Stop it.
Put it in my 2 weeks right now.
No, but you asked how I find them. I would say the majority of the time it's from Reddit. I'm a big Reddit gal.
What subreddits are you on? So other people who might be interested can also check them out.
No, because then that takes away because what if it's a case that I choose to cover?
Again, now it seems like we're ripping off other
We're not ripping off anyone.
Can we title this one Rip Off?
No! Okay, this is all legit content. But listen, sometimes when you're making a true crime podcast, you will cover some of the same cases.
No, I know. No, but I've been asked, how does Hugh come up with all these, or where does she find all these stories? So, and I was like, I actually don't even know. So,
It's Hugh's secret.
All right. It's your secret sauce. I get it.
It's my secret sauce.
Cool. Well, no, this was great. Thank you for walking me through this one. This one might have been my favorite story. Like the events in there were just radical. Completely did not see them coming at all. So I like this one a lot. Yeah.
You would say this one is your favorite?
The last two have been my favorite because the stories are just so wild. So I like that.
That's what I try to go for. I feel like the more strange, the more bizarre, those are the cases that really intrigue me.
Yeah.
So I guess to circle back to your question, I find these cases a bunch of different places, a bunch of different ways. And I feel like the ones that really stand out to me are usually the ones that have some sort of like some strange circumstances surrounding them, or there's some oddities to them.
Well, keep it up. You're doing good.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. And I think we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, see y'all later.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.